Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Cinema Sitdown. My name is Paris. We just got finished watching Exit Through the Gift Shop. It's a 2010 documentary film. It was directed by infamous street artist Banksy, and it's about street art and one man who was on a journey to capture it. So I'll let my guests go ahead and introduce themselves today, who we have here.
I am Isaiah.
Hi, I'm Brian Fry.
All right, and we're going to get into it right now. All right, so as we begin here, I think it's best to I kind of just want to get initial thoughts on the film because it's I think it's a bit of a polarizing film. So I'd just like to hear anyone's first thoughts on it.
Well, I think that one of the things that that you said in the intro, that it was directed by Banksy, I thought that was really interesting, seeing that Banksy, I guess, seemed really off-put by doing the documentary, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, him directing it, I think was definitely like, the whole point was the documentary was originally about him and about street art, but turned into kind of something else. So that was pretty cool.
I mean, from the beginning, I really thought it was going to be specifically about Banksy, maybe just some history, some background, but as it said in the beginning, it really was about a whole different guy, this cinematographer. I don't know what he really would call himself. I guess maybe artist now, but
yeah, Mr. Brainwash.
Yeah, Mr. Brainwash himself.
Yeah,
but I feel like that was almost more interesting. Yeah, it caught me off guard, and it was someone I didn't already know about. Because
yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the film is kind of the setup, and then you slowly start to realize as it's going on that it is about street art, and it is about, especially in the beginning, kind of the history of it, but you quickly realize that there's a lot more going on to this story, and that the trueness of the documentary is really about Terry and kind of his journey of filming everything and then going, one would say maybe crazy. I'm not a psychologist, I can't diagnose that, but would you agree?
He made a transition from filming literally everything, and I think that's where a lot of the people have came up with the fact that he had a mental illness, was because he always had that camera there. He was always filming, and he didn't exactly have any reason to be filming. That was just something that he really enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can kind of relate to that because I remember as a kid getting, my first DS or something that, and I was just like obsessed with it, and like the storage would just be filled up by the end of the week, and I would have to go through and delete everything. But like,
I was the same way when I got my first flip phone.
Oh,
I was just taking pictures of everything. It didn't really make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you had that DSi and it didn't have a max of storage, would you still have those videos to this day, in the same sense that Terry still has his videotapes, all of his videotapes from everything that he shot? Would you still have yours today?
I think I would. I think I would have saved it all because I'm kind of like a sentimental person.
Yeah.
And especially with like very old things, I just like to keep it even if it doesn't really have any value. Like I have a bunch of theater tickets that I'm not gonna like use them for anything, but it's like, oh yeah, I went through that.
Souvenirs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it really attests to his dedication, though. I mean, this is all on physical tape. He had to buy all this tape, he had to store the tape. Someday it will go bad. Like, it's not going to last forever because it's physical tape. So it's quite the dedication to his craft. So on that note, I kind of want to talk about the other aspect of the film, which was kind of showcasing street art and, in a way, graffiti. More street art than graffiti, but just kind of showcasing that that part of it. So I guess I'll open up a bit of a philosophical question, but what do you guys think about street art and graffiti? Is this real art? Is this illegal? What is this stuff?
I think for me, whenever I look at art, I guess graffiti, I really do enjoy looking at it. So I guess I would say that it would be art. But the real question in my mind is, how in the heck do they get up there?
Oh yeah, I think they just use ladders.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of bridges that have graffiti on it, and I don't know about a ladder, but like, it's just.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of risk.
There's some creative places that they do this graffiti, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you see with Mr. Brainwash at the end. I mean, just trying to put up the poster, he falls off and he
broke his foot.
Yeah,
Or
he broke
fractured
his
it.
foot and
Gruesome images, by the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of danger to
reality.
doing it. There's a lot of risk, and I mean that's what originally made him kind of drawn to it, was that it kind of made his life exciting to go out and do this.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things that personally I really like about street art is the contextual aspect of it, because I feel like art is a very contextual thing, you know. It's never just art in a vacuum. So when you see these stencils or spray paints on walls, it's like the aspect of what the artist went through to get to that location and to do this illegally, or be up at 3 a.m. in Los Angeles doing this on walls, adds another layer to it other than just the art.
Yeah, that's what I would say. That part, actual going onto the streets, doing this graffiti, that's definitely art, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, where he's just kind of like printing it in the studio, and then directly moving it to an art show or whatever, I feel like he's not really doing art. I mean, he's not really going and painting these things himself.
Sure.
He's just spitballing ideas, and then other people digitally create them for him. So he's not really.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can really just spit random ideas and be like, "Oh yeah, Elvis Presley," but now he has a gun instead of a guitar. Like, it's not really super creative stuff.
Yeah.
He's doing.
There's one particular piece that I thought was interesting, and that was the tomato can with the spray paint on the top.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the reason why that one was so important was because that's where he came from. He I guess lower class, so that's the soup in a can, and then transitioning into the spray paint, and so just combining the two. I wonder if that's where that came from.
Yeah, possibly. It's also possible that we're just falling into his trap, and he just decided to make a tomato soup because of Andy Warhol. But I mean, you guys are already one step ahead of the game. I was going to transition to that about how is street art, and then is his art. So I guess we can talk about that, like the way that he kind of took this idea and kind of repurposed it and manufactured it into something where he's kind of, I mean, he is, it's like, I don't know how much credit to give him, because it's like, is he really thinking about all these things and saying, I know what I'll do, I'll take all this art and copy it and everyone will buy it and I'll become rich? Or is he actually just, like,
I mean, he seemed to think of himself as an artist, though.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what his project was doing, even if it was kind of fake and purposely generic, he himself felt like he was doing something kind of like special. And I don't know, I just can't see the passion in it, because it's it's so generic purposely that it's just like not interesting to me at all. So I don't really see how he sees himself as an artist. It's more of just like, I don't know, he kind of seems like a con man almost to me, because he's using art to make money.
Yeah.
While Banksy's doing it because he has a real passion for it.
Yeah.
And he would do it without the money. I mean, he was doing it for like 10 years.
Sure.
And I'm sure like most of that time it was just him messing around with a spray.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that goes to a question of the first day of art appreciation. What is art? For everybody, it's different for everybody. What's art to Banksy is not the same as art to Mr. Brainwash.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very good point to bring up. But also going off of that, I think one of the main things that kind of drives it is the art world and art critics and the kind of idea of what a critic is and how the people influence the art as well. 'Cause, we saw the shots of these auctions and they're selling these pieces for literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's just street art, it's just art. And when Mr. Brainwash held his show in Los Angeles, you had people coming up and they were talking about how, oh, I really think that he's inspired by this and the way that he combines this with this, but they're just reading too far into it. Yeah. And it kind of plays into the idea of how people kind of trick themselves into believing these things, and it's kind of a personal connection that people have with the art and the kind of context of society. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but
no, I mean, before the art show even opens, he has people calling him and asking how much everything is going to cost, just because he knows people. Yeah. So it's really showing how, like, the upper class kind of art world is mostly about who you know, rather than the art itself. Because no one cared about Mr. Brainwash until Banksy talked about him, and that other guy, I'm forgetting his name, but until some famous graffiti artist talked about it. So they don't care about the art, they care about the name. Yeah. And I mean, that's almost like what they were originally trying to critique, was this kind of capitalistic world. So it's kind of like they're falling into what they originally hated.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
I can go and splatter some paint on a canvas and it's going to be worth nothing. But in the same sense, Bob Ross can paint a tree and it sells for thousands of dollars, Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess on that note, so just overall, when we think about these topics, what would you say was your main kind of takeaway from the film?
I mean, the main takeaway for me was just the story of this man, and it was just kind of, to me, showing passion. Like, at the end of the day, it really is about these graffiti artists who are just so passionate about what they're doing. They're taking risks. They could be arrested, they could get hurt, but they do it anyways. And our main kind of character here is taking all these videos, taking all these pictures, not for any reason besides you're just passionate about it. And I mean, that's kind of a good message to take away from it, is that you should just kind of follow your passions, no matter what anyone says, no matter what kind of lays ahead of you. If that's what you want to do, then you should really go for it.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway from this movie was never be afraid of transitioning. He started out with being a documentary maker and filming, and I guess he didn't really start out as a documentary maker, but he had all these films, and then people are like, you need to make a documentary, and then he made it, and it was terrible.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite parts.
It was like flipping through DirecTV and 900 channels, just pressing the up arrow. But then he started with art and graffiti and things like that, and he started becoming really successful at it. And then he made $1 million at one of his art showings.
Yeah. But I mean, it definitely brings up that question of like, or not a question, but just the idea of like, I mean, if you're just completely ignorant and you just have blind confidence in yourself, what you can actually accomplish, he never told himself that I feel like the thought of, how could I do this? How much would it cost? Where am I going to get these things? Don't even cross his mind. He just says, I want to make something, or I want to put on this show because I want to, and I want to be like Banksy and these other artists. And then it just does it, and it just kind of works. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't, I guess.
I mean, it's crazy because they do show some of his family. Yeah. And you just feel really bad. I mean, they're even in the movie, they're there, but they're even pushed kind of behind in the movie. But he's really hurting them. I mean, he's never around. He's always traveling. He like mortgages the house to put on this art show. and there's just so many problems, and you just, I mean, you have to think about, like, what if the art show didn't work out?
Mm-hmm.
They would just be completely lost.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I guess it comes back to, like, if you want to make it big, you got to take risks, I
Yeah,
guess. But
that's
it's like,
true.
how much risk are you willing to take?
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's
yeah.
That's kind of every time I watch this film, I always go back and forth just between that kind of idea of, like, I mean, the essential question is, like, kind of how they talked about at the end is, like, who is the joke on here? Like, who is the joke really on? Because is the joke on the people who go and view it and they're getting tricked into thinking that this is, like, highbrow stuff or, you know, really thought-provoking art? I mean, I think she was a reporter or something, asks him, like, what was the decision to do this? And he was just like, oh, you know, I just thought about it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, is the joke on him for, you know, not being true to his art or making, so it's like, really, it's really just, that's the question is, who knows? Who knows?
I mean, it's really left up to the audience.
Yeah, I guess it's just kind of what you take out of it in the context.
So, I mean, I can see one side being like, oh no, he's this mastermind, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he tricked these elite art people. He came from, you know, the bottom, and now he's made $1 million just selling. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but it's like just really generic art. Yeah, I wouldn't. And the other side of it is just like, oh, he got lucky, kind of thing.
He's more of a designer, I guess, in the sense that than an artist, because he's more of just like conceptualizing these ideas and then having artists do it for him, which I guess is in a way valid, but also not. So, you know, who knows?
I think that it was really interesting about how Banksy had the elephant, and he brought the elephant in, and then he painted the elephant and to blend into the room, as if to say the elephant in the room, and then he got the animal rights activist people there. And I think that Banksy himself did a lot of controversial things, you know, like Disneyland was one of them. So
just kind of always pushing that boundary, seeing how far
it can go. And so, like, I felt like Banksy did a lot of those controversial things.
So how do we feel? Overall thoughts on the film? Rating? You want to give it a quick rating before we wrap things up here?
Overall thoughts, I would give it a strong, 7 out of 10. It was super interesting, I would say. So I think it was a good watch.
Yeah.
I think that I would give it a solid 6 spray cans out of 10.
Nice. This is one of my favorite documentary films of all time, so I'm giving it a solid 10 out of 10.
10
All right. So is art real? Is Terry a mastermind or not? Let us know. Leave a comment down below. And thanks so much for joining us on Cinema Sit Down. We'll see you next time.